One of the hottest dating simulation games currently trending is about a 17-year-old girl from the countryside. She is revealed to be the long-lost daughter of the Duke as she returns to her forgotten life in the ducal family. After living as a commoner, she becomes surrounded by a series of new incidents and connections. There are several target male leads, each with their own unique charms and ulterior motives. The Duke's fake daughter had stolen the main character's spot while she was missing. The goal is to defeat the Villainess, regain lost wealth and fame, and fulfill true love. Everything seems perfect until she gains freedom. She would have been happy with that alone. A man tells her that she should have lived her life without making any sounds and to live as if she were dead. The man scolds her and she can't seem to speak. She wonders if she's in a dream as she doesn't recognize the place she's in. She has three options right in front of her. She wonders where she is and that she just woke up after falling asleep. She knows that if she doesn't speak up, she will face consequences. So she chooses an option on the screen in front of her and her voice automatically makes her apologize. The man tells her that the situation she created can't be fixed with a single apology. He orders her to be on probation, banned from attending banquets, and also banned from leaving her room. She's told to reflect on her actions and repent. The man calls her Penelope Eckhart and vows to take her last name away from her. He asks why she's looking everywhere but his eyes, and tells her she's gone mad. Another man speaks up, calling Penelope foolish. She looks at the favorability on the top of the man's head, and it's minus 10%. The woman can't believe she has been isekai'd into a video game she'd been playing recently. The illegitimate child of a wealthy family? The reality is that this isn't a novel or a drama. She was called a worthless child. Living with her mother in a one-room apartment or a future in an orphanage would have been better for her. 6 years later, in present time, the girl is happy that she is finally free. Living in that house was, until now, painful. Whether it was at home or school, the girl's half-brother would endlessly torture her, and her father didn't give a damn about anything they did. The girl worked hard to get into a prestigious university, just so she could have a reason to move out and escape her hellish family. And she did. My depressing days are over now, she thinks. I'm going to go to school and make a bunch of friends and live happily. At school, she and her friend talk about a game that's been trending recently, the Ladies' Love Project. Back at home, she wonders why a childish game like this is trending. Although she isn't interested, she just sees what it's about. She plays the game in normal mode and thinks that it's pretty simple and generic, although the pretty art is a plus. Since she has school tomorrow, she decides to play the prologue and to go to sleep. 3 hours later, and she can't sleep. The game is more fun than she had thought, and somehow it feels like she's watching her own story. The heroine, who had lost her status and lived in poverty, returned to the ducal house, and she, the girl who was brought into a wealthy family one day by her father. After playing for a little bit and clearing all the normal mode routes, she notices that she can now purchase the game's hidden ending, but it's hundreds of dollars. Way too expensive for the girl. She realizes there's another way of getting this game's ending. It's to clear the hard mode. Although she has school tomorrow, she decides to just clear the game. In hindsight, she must have gone crazy for a second at the thought of the ending being just out of reach. Otherwise, she would have never done such a thing. In hard mode, the story will be played from the perspective of the Villainess, Penelope Eckhart, an adopted daughter brought in to replace the real young daughter who went missing when she was young. The game is really hard for the girl. She keeps dying over and over again. It's so hard to raise favorability because she's the Villainess too, and if she makes the wrong choice even once, her favorability drops to 0 and it's game over. The girl is frustrated. Penelope, the woman in the game, looked evil in normal mode, but when you look at it from her perspective, what she did wasn't even so wrong. The girl's initial goal was to get the hidden ending, but that doesn't matter anymore. She wants to see this pitiful Villainess live and become happy with any one of the male leads. The heroine in normal mode earns everyone's love too easily. On the other hand, she only becomes more miserable no matter how much she begs for affection. The Villainess in hard mode only ever meets death. The image of the Villainess overlaps with the girl's, so even if she keeps dying, the girl restarts and dies, then repeats. But she couldn't reach any of the endings even after the sun rose. She thinks of restarting this game until the Villainess's ending isn't death anymore. The girl wakes up as Penelope feels her arm like it has been hit by lightning and realizes there are needle marks. Penelope looks behind her. It's the same character she saw in the game, the maid. She wonders what the hell the maid was doing while she was sleeping, but her voice won't come out. She wonders if she can't say anything if there aren't any choices available for her to choose from. She didn't expect much from the maid, but just cold water and a wash bowl are too much. The girl knew Penelope was mistreated, but she didn't know the setting would be this detailed. Suddenly, she remembers the story of the needles and realizes this game has amazingly useless details. But Penelope doesn't care, as in her past life, she faced much worse. Penelope is called out to eat food, and the food is moldy and basically garbage. She can't eat this. She looks at her maid when suddenly she gets a few choices in front of her again. These choices have appeared in front of Penelope again. She knows that the right choice now is in a game event. Out of 3 choices, the 2 she chose were traps. If she chooses option 1, the poor maid will run to the Duke and tell them about her tantrum. If the eldest son overhears, Penelope will be banned from even taking a sip of water, and she will starve to death in this room. And if she chooses option 2, the second son will just happen to pass by the room and see Penelope force-feeding the maid. As he tries to separate her and the maid, she gets stabbed in the neck and dies. So Penelope chooses option 3, the option to just eat this garbage food. Her mouth moves on its own, and she shoves the garbage food in her mouth. Her brother sees her doing this. Penelope wonders why she has to go through all of this. Even in her past life, her 2 brothers never left her alone, whether it was her food or school life. Because of them, Penelope was constantly sick in her past life, and she's experienced enough of this stuff in the real world. But now, she's experiencing it in a game. Penelope's brother walks up to her, sees the food served to Penelope, and shouts at the maid, having her imprisoned. The brother asks her why she didn't flip the table over like normal. He asks her if she's okay. Penelope notices that this brother has pink hair. The situation was resolved thanks to the Duke's second son, but is that maid the only reason why the lady has become like this? It wouldn't be a stretch to say that all the servants here may also feel the same way. If the members of the Duke's family include the bastard brother standing right before her, didn't just ignore the situation, something like this would have never occurred in the first place, and tells her brother not to bother calling in a physician since he doesn't mean any of the concern he's spouting out. Penelope realizes the favorability on top of her brother's head has gone up to -3, and yesterday it was -10. It's still in the negatives, but better than nothing. As she washes her face, Penelope realizes how pretty she really is. In the game, she was pretty, but in real life, she's even prettier. Dark pink hair and turquoise blue eyes, just like in the game. She's so beautiful, but still gives off a vicious impression. Penelope thinks that the Duke should have just looked for his real daughter. Why did he have to bring in some poor kid? Penelope thinks that it would have been different if this was normal mode, but this isn't any better than her own life. It's only been a few hours and she can tell just what kind of treatment Penelope had been receiving here. Even if she's a fake, if they had any common sense, they wouldn't torture a child that the Duke adopted with needles and spoiled food like this. Penelope was only 12 when she was adopted. She was basically forced to take the role of a villainess. There's not much a child can do if no one listens to them, no matter how hard they scream. From now on, Penelope has to make sure she doesn't get herself killed like in the game. Penelope stays calm and finds a way to survive somehow. She writes down and organizes everything she knows for now about what kind of world this is. First, the characters. There were a total of 5 targets in the game. There's Derek, next there's Reynold, Penelope's stepbrothers, and the 2 sons of the Eckhart ducal family. The eldest son and heir to the Eckhart dukedom, a strict and cold noble gentleman, Derek. Since he's busy preparing to inherit the Eckhart dukedom, he doesn't pay much attention to Penelope. However, it seems he has feelings of disgust and hatred towards her for taking the spot of his missing sister. The second son of the dukedom has a destructive, hostile personality, a foul mouth, and is quick to act. He's quick to pick a fight whenever he sees Penelope, so he's someone to keep an eye on. Come to think of it, they are quite similar to Penelope's brothers in her past life. Penelope thinks there's no hope for her brothers. One of them starts at -10 favorability. On top of that, hearing the word brother makes Penelope feel sick these days. The next male is the lead, Crown Prince Callisto Regulus, the Crown Prince of the Ioka Kingdom. A violent tyrant who thinks of human lives as nothing more than dust on the ground. But it seems there's something tragic behind this person. Penelope did progress far enough to know Callisto's route. All the information Penelope has is from normal mode. In normal mode, the tyrant who thinks of people's lives as flies changes after meeting the angelic Yvonne, and would often severely punish the villainous Penelope. You could say he was serving justice, but from Penelope's perspective, in hard mode, he is no different from the Grim Reaper. He is the worst of them all. Next up is Vinter Burdandi, a wizard and head of the Burdandi Marquessate, an odd fellow who hides his status to act as a mercenary and run all sorts of deals ranging from information to trade. His role in normal mode was to prove Yvonne's true identity. With his ability to gather information, he protected Yvonne from Penelope. He was a polite, romantic, and helpful character to Yvonne. And the last one is Eccles, a quiet apprentice knight of the Eckhart Duchy, though currently a slave. He was once a noble of a now ruined country. Duke Eckhart saw his potential and brought him into the duchy. Eccles even receives the title of swordsman in the latter half of normal mode and is given a position of nobility. He was also the only target character who pitied Penelope till the very end. For now, Eccles is the best bet for Penelope's survival. The fake Lady Penelope loses everything on the day she becomes an adult, with the return of the real lady. The only thing for Penelope by then will be death, and she can't let that happen. She will not die. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. The butler says the Duke has been looking for her. The butler enters Penelope's room without even waiting for her to answer. Not even the workers at her house in her past life were this rude. As they head to the Duke's room, Penelope asks the Duke what he wants. He says that he heard a commotion this morning. Penelope chooses the option, it's nothing to worry about. The Duke points out that Penelope has been living with them for 6 years, and she is now 18. Penelope wonders if he wants to kick her out, and the options pop up in front of her again. She responds to the Duke and gets on her knees, apologizing to the Duke and even calling him father. Penelope gets the option to turn off the choices from here. Penelope clicks yes to the option of turning the choices off, as this is crucial to her survival in this world. It works. Penelope can finally move and speak without the following choices. She didn't know being able to speak as she pleased could be this emotional. Penelope apologizes to the Duke for creating a commotion during her probation period. She says that this incident is due to her negligence in the care of her servants, and that she will deeply reflect upon this during the rest of her probation. If you think about it carefully, Penelope is not at fault for the commotion, as she's the victim. But if you think about Penelope's actions so far, that's not important. She will be the one in trouble if she acts stubborn. The only way she can survive is bowing down like a dog. Penelope apologizes to her father again and promises to do her best to prove her worth until her coming of age ceremony. The Duke tells Penelope to rise and not let the chance she earned today go to waste. She thanks the Duke and heads her way. Penelope doesn't really know if that was the best choice, but it should be fine. The Duke isn't the target character anyway. Suddenly, a voice speaks up, and it's Derek. He says that her maid has worked in the ducal estate for 10 years. No matter how much money was offered, no one was willing to be Penelope's personal maid. She was the only one who volunteered. But today was the end of that, expresses Derek. Penelope is internally angry. She wasn't the one who made a ruckus. It was Reynolds. Penelope doesn't want to get killed, so she tries to go away, and Derek seems annoyed. Not even gonna reply to your brother, huh? Penelope turns around and apologizes to Derek for causing a commotion and calls him a young master, which takes him aback. Penelope also has her pride, so putting herself down in front of others like this makes her feel miserable. But she has done it countless times like this before in order to survive. Since this game isn't reality, Penelope doesn't care and will beg all she needs. Derek lets Penelope off the hook for now, and as she's about to head her own way, she flails. She has no strength in her body as she ate rotten food in the morning. Her brother catches her and asks her if she wants to meet the physician. He heard that she ate rotten food, which proves that he knew that it was Penelope's fault, but he still tried to blame her for it. If she didn't beg for forgiveness like in the game scenario, he would have done something to her. Penelope flicks his hand off her and tells him not to concern himself with her, and she takes her leave. Penelope just wants Derek not to bother her, and she doesn't want to ruin his mood. Penelope lays down on her bed and is thankful she's still alive. She's happy that she called her brother young master in that chaotic situation. When she was targeting Derek, his favorability dropped. When Penelope called him brother, it's probably because he despises Penelope so much. From now on, Penelope promises to herself not to call Derek brother ever again. Penelope is hungry. Not even half the day has passed, and she doesn't know what to think as her eyes close shut. She starts to dream, and in the dream, Penelope is being accused of stealing Yvonne's necklace. But she didn't do that. She only hid in her room because she wanted to hide from the evil maid. After that day, Penelope bought extraordinary amounts of jewels from the merchants that were called into the mansion, not caring about the servants' shock and the brothers' uproar at the waste of money. And from that day onwards, she never called the Duke father ever again. Suddenly, Penelope wakes up from her sleep after hearing knocks from the butler. He calls Penelope as there are urgent matters that need to be taken care of as soon as possible. Penelope wonders if someone tried to frame her, but the thing is, they need to decide on a new personal maid for her. Penelope wonders why he opened the door to his sleeping superior's room without permission. She asks the butler for his name, and he introduces himself as Fennel. Penelope Eckhart, a noble, says Penelope after introducing herself, and yet she has never heard of an etiquette wherein a commoner without a last name dares to enter a noble's room as he pleases. She asks the butler if he knows something Penelope doesn't. She asks what the butler will do if rumors start going around. The butler apologizes to the lady, and Penelope tells him not to come to her ever again, but he says that it's his duty to hire a maid for the mansion. She demands a simple yes or no answer. The butler says yes and leaves. She also says she doesn't need dinner after he leaves. Penelope finally feels refreshed. It may be something harsh to say to an elder, but Penelope has endured this for 6 years. The next day, the head maid greets Penelope in her room and asks if she has a maid in mind that she wants, as they need to recruit one for her. Penelope asks what happened to her other maid, Emily, and the head maid says that her pay was cut and she is responsible for doing laundry now. Penelope expresses that Emily should continue being her maid now, as it's inconvenient not having anyone serving her for now. Penelope says that she will ask her father to forgive Emily, but the Duke isn't home right now. Till now, there was no reason for anyone to fear the lady. After all, no matter what happened, they could just put the blame on her violent temperament, but Penelope has no intention of dying because of that. Emily heads into the lady's room, bringing in her breakfast, which befits the noble lady much more. Penelope asks Emily to hand over the needles she used to prick her every morning, and Emily puts her head to the ground, apologizing profusely to the noble lady. Emily hands it over to Penelope, and Penelope stabs her hand with the needle. Emily screams for the lady to stop, and when she does, Penelope warns Emily one last time that if someone were to see Penelope's wounds, they would blame it on Emily. So it's up to Emily. From now on, everything will depend on how she acts. Penelope tells Emily to pick up the food as she's done eating. She also realizes that Emily is quick-witted, so she can be used. Nothing will change with just a single maid anyway. If that's the case, Penelope might as well turn her into someone she can use. The fact that she can use her past abuse as a weakness, and now Emily is able to act quickly and change sides for her own benefit. Penelope likes that about her. Suddenly, Reynolds barges in through the door, asking Penelope why she took Emily in again. Penelope tells Reynolds that it's nothing to worry about, but Reynolds' anger increases. He says that a lowly thing like Emily dared not to know her place and harmed the Eckhart family. They don't need someone impudent like that. There are people out there who wouldn't even ask for pay if they knew they would have a chance working for a family like this. Penelope realizes that Reynolds said this all the time to her when they were in normal mode. Penelope knows that everyone in the house sees her as a fool. She tells Reynolds that she went and talked about this with Derek and the Duke. Of course you did, says Reynolds. He told father to get rid of the impudent maid, but Penelope tells him that the father and elder brother refused to get rid of Emily. They didn't specifically say it, but the only reason Derek brought up Emily's long career was to pressure Penelope. Reynolds is annoyed that Penelope decided to use Emily as her personal maid again instead of kicking her out. But Penelope asks Reynolds how he knows this wouldn't happen again if a new maid came. Penelope stays calm. She can't afford to antagonize them by saying her attitude is the problem. Penelope also reveals to Reynolds that she didn't meet her father yesterday to get the maid kicked out, but rather she got on her knees and begged for forgiveness for creating a ruckus during her probation. Reynolds screams with anger and asks Penelope if she doesn't have any self-respect, but Penelope asks Reynolds if he didn't expect these kinds of things to ever happen since the day Reynolds put Yvonne's necklace in Penelope's room. Reynolds wanted all of this to happen. Rather than the butler, the head maid, or Emily, the real culprit here is Reynolds. He tries to explain himself, but Penelope says he's not trying to say anything about it now. After all, she's been acting foolishly up until this moment. She also says she can't stay in the family forever as her coming-of-age ceremony is near. Suddenly, Penelope sees an unknown expression on Reynolds' face, and his favorability goes up by 6% for Penelope. This is a shock for her, as she thought there was no hope for him. Emily gives Penelope the invitation from the royal palace. It's tomorrow, and Derek has told Penelope to get ready quickly, since Derek said it must mean Penelope's probation is over as of today. She decides to get ready, but she wanted to just stay in her room and be served and not get involved with any of the main leads. She then realizes she's going to the palace. That means she might see the crown prince. It's a given since it's the second prince's birthday banquet. Penelope feels screwed as she lies on her sofa. She wonders what to do as she can't act sick. She doesn't remember the crown prince's game event because she was too busy dying when playing the game. She died as soon as they were alone in the palace. She kept dying again and again. Penelope wonders what to do. Just as she thought it'd be best to pretend to be sick, she wonders if she should just try dying herself. Maybe she'll go back to her old life. The real world would be quicker than going through these hopeless brat's routes. Besides, this game has a reset button too. It's the ultimate lifesaver. Alright, Penelope decides to meet the crown prince and try dying. As they get ready, the maids are more excited than Penelope. Penelope thinks it isn't so bad dressing up once in a while with a pretty face like hers, but she tells the maids to make her dress as minimal as possible. When Penelope meets Derek, she says that his favorability for her has risen to 5%. She finds this weird as she didn't even see him. As she gets into the carriage, Derek is going with her in the same carriage as well. Derek says if she feels uncomfortable, she can just go into another carriage. but she says she feels happy, which makes Derek's favorability go up to 6%. The rest of the ride went silent, and they finally arrived. Derek tells her not to cause a commotion again, or she'll be punished severely if she does. Later, the royal family arrives, their blonde hair signifying their lineage. Penelope notices something weird. The Emperor's throne, which is for Callisto, is not used by him, but rather the second son, the one who would take the throne on the formal occasions in place of the Emperor, who didn't appear in the game, was always the crown prince. So why is the second prince sitting on the throne? As the second son thanks the guests for coming, the door slams, and it's Callisto. He was the one that said both the queen and the second prince's hair was shining. That's simply blasphemy, because the crown prince of this empire has hair a dazzling blonde as if it were made from gold itself. As the crown prince enters the room, he holds a man in his hand and says, "Happy birthday to the second son." The queen screams at Callisto and tells him that he's the mere crown prince by name, and how dare he do something so horrific at an occasion the prince wasn't invited to. The man that the crown prince held was the invitation distributor, who refused to give the crown prince an invitation, so he killed him in front of everyone in the banquet. This didn't happen in the original game, so Penelope is confused. The game asks if she wants to proceed into the garden maze. It's mainly Callisto's episode, but that man's crazier than Penelope thought. What if he cuts her head off as soon as they meet? But Penelope doesn't care, as she came here to die. She continues and gets teleported into the garden. Alright, Penelope is determined to die. She wonders how far she has to go as her feet and her heels hurt. Suddenly, the prince points his sword at her neck, and Penelope looks for the reset button, but she can't find it. Watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.